Hello, welcome to my game dev live stream. This is going to be stream number 51. And today I'm going to get work started on the 7th sprint of my project. I've got some rollover work from the last sprint regarding weapon design, combat design. And originally, when I left last stream last night, I was planning on doing the basic attacks in the next sprint, but I was thinking about it. So I am going to be out Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, basically, of this week. Because I am making a trip to Iowa to go pick up my dog. Thanks, Julius Pinky. Thanks for the compliment on my nice hat. And congratulations on being first in the chat. Dog's name? I don't know. I haven't decided yet. I think my girlfriend thinks that I've decided, but I'm kidding. Yeah, her name is Ruby. Her name is Ruby. I think I've got a picture. This is the most recent picture I have of her, I think. At least saved on my phone. And her name is Ruby. She's an Australian Shepherd. She's very cute. And so this weekend, I go to pick her up. And so, yeah. It's quite a drive, leaving Friday night. And won't be back until very late on Sunday. So probably won't be doing any programming during that time. I think I have a much higher likelihood of being able to achieve the file system this week rather than the basic attacks. So that's why I'm deciding to make this swap here. So let's begin to break this feature down into different stories. I want to be able to read and write to data files while the game is running so that I can say so that I can save the progress of the player and other game options. So first I'm going to start by researching Unity file system, decide what directory to put game files into, directory and file type. functionality to read up a file, functionality to write to a file, seen which tests that I can read and write to a file. So I'm going to set a timer for 25 minutes. We'll do a viewer mini game then. Got my timer going there. Okay, and then I'd like to put a story point estimate on each of these. So researching Unity file system, and it takes me 2 story points. Decide what directory and file type to put games into. That one's probably just like a 1. Functionality to read up a file, maybe 5, and functionality to write a file, 5, and then I want a scene which tests that I can read and write to a file. I'm gonna give that one like a 3. So now I've got my backlog for this sprint. I've got my 5 stories from the file system, and then the 2 rollovers from the last sprint. So now I can click Start Sprint. Sorry, I got a bit distracted there. Just kind of thinking through things in my head. So, the thing I'm going to start with tonight is, what does a weapon prefab look like? I think I might do a little bit of research on here. Unity weapon attacks. Looks like I got a couple potential ones.
What if you could get rid of your kitchen garbage at the push of a button?
Need a 3D animation for your product? It's never been easier.
Now we want to swing the axe. I'm going to go to mixamo.com, look for an axe swinging motion. Standing melee attack. Download 60 frames per second. And I'm going to drag it into my axe folder. Rename the file, axe standing attack, rig, turn it to humanoid, apply, go to configure, make sure everything is green.
So I've used Mixamo before, which is what he's using. It's just a website with a bunch of free animations and stuff. Looks like he's mostly setting up the animations for it.
And we're going to go back to X idle at the end of the animation. So keep the exit time. Okay. Looks like it's working fine. I can also put it down and go back to your normal state. Okay. Let me fix the transition between idle and walk. I think it's a little too much. Feels like lag. Faster swing.
It doesn't look like he's actually having anything take damage.
Hey, I'm Matt from Pila, and I want to introduce you to my friend.
In today's video, we're going to show you how a character can strike an enemy with a weapon. Here is a character holding a weapon. Currently, movement and attack functions are implemented in advance. And there is an object near the character, and I made it change color when the weapon touches it. The problem arises here. Even if the character does not attack, it results in the object being attacked. It would be a good idea to activate the collider only when the character attacks. Let's see how to solve the problem.
So the basic way that this works is, from just my analysis, they've got their player character object. So they got their player character object here, and then they have inside of this, they've got a mesh for their weapon. Looks like, and then the weapon just has like a collider on it, and they swing it around, and whatever it hits, they deal damage to. And what he's talking about is basically you disable the collider except for when you're actually pressing the button to attack. So in this case, the weapon prefab would be like a sprite, and then it's centered on the point where it where it's held, and then there's a collider on it. And then some script that detects collisions with that collider. I should be taking notes of this. Hello Dalton Jones, hello Rhino Dog 15. Let's see. Thanks for joining. There are no windows in the world, but I've got lots of doors. I've got real fake doors. Come on down. get some real fake doors. I can show what's going on. Oh, it's not what I'm working on right now. What I'm working on right now is finishing up some combat and weapon design. What I was working on last week had to do with doors and activating them and stuff. So wheels. No, don't have any wheels. So I've got this scene here which has like a few different example kinds of doors. So this would be good to show you what's going on. So I've got different kinds of doors. The first door is one that you can walk up to. It blocks your movement. And then when you press E, it opens. There's a bug here, which I decided not to deal with, which was that it's not really a bug. It's more like I didn't make different scriptable object data for each one, so they animate together. Then there's this next one, which opens when you get close to it, and then closes when you go away from it. And then there's this last one, which opens at the press of this button. And it closes after a short delay. So it looks a little bit better if you do each of these separately, but just because they're all stuck on the same animation. It's pretty easy to fix. I just need to rework my folder organization. So if I delete the first door and I just go to the second one, you can see how this works quite a bit better. Like that. It works in the other direction too. There's a short delay between when you walk in and when it starts going up. I think I can resolve that as well. But that's like polishing stuff. I'm not worried about it right now. Okay, and then the last one here is the button, right? So you press the button, it goes up, and it stays up as long as you're on the button. And then once you go off the button, oops, well, it restarts the animation every time you press on the button. It doesn't have to go back through the down animation, which that probably is a bug. I could fix that. Anyways, there's some polishing to do there, but that's the gist of it. So we've got our weapon sprite. Collider script, which this is like the damage collider script, which handles collider. See, this is the collider to deal damage, or collider centered on point, which deals damage. And a script which handles collider damaging. Let's see what this video has to show.
Select a character and open the animation window. select an attack animation. If you cannot make any modifications or settings to the animation as in the current situation, duplicate only the animation element and reapply it to the attack animator.
So he's gonna trigger the damage collider, probably based off of the animation, which seems like an okay way of doing it.
It looks good to have the collider turn on here, and the turn off timing here. So let's add two events.
Okay, so they're using an event instead of making a keyframe for it. I kind of like that.
Now let's go to the script and put the code to handle the event. Make sure the manager player attack script is with the animator component. Otherwise, you can't use animation event.
Okay, so the point there is that the script, or what you're calling the function on, has to be at the same level as the animator. Worth noting.
In this example, the game object pivot weapon R, which allows weapons to be mounted on the character's hand bone, is already attached, and the weapon is set as a child of this game object. Since we use the box collider in our weapon, let's create a box collider variable, collider weapon. Then, let's create an additional game object variable to put the game object using the box collider into the variable. Now, let's write the code that gets the box collider component in the start method. First, add the weapon, the child object, a pivot weapon R, to the variable. The getChild command gets objects according to their child sequence number. There is only one child of pivot weapon R, so you can set it to 0, the first of the index number. Now that we have the weapon stored in a variable, we just need to get that weapon's box collider component. Finally, since the character doesn't play the attack animation right away, I'm going to disable the weapons collider. Now let's create a method to execute the animation event. Animation event only supports public methods. Simply create attack start and attack end methods. I will copy one line of code used in the start method and paste it into both methods. When the attack start method is executed, the box collider will be activated. And when the attack end method is executed, the box collider will be deactivated. Let's go back to the animation window. First, click on Event and choose the attack start method you just created. The last event selects the attack end method. Everything seems to be done. Shall we play? Even if a character approaches the object does not respond as before. You can see the color change as soon as the character hits the object. That's all for today's tutorial. Thank you. See you next time.
Okay. So I think if you also have a scriptable object which defines the object's damage characteristics. That would be good as well. I think it also needs to have a public layer mask, things to damage. Damage characteristics or something like maybe a min damage, max damage, damage type. Maybe actually maybe the damage characteristic thing has a the mask that tells it what things it can hurt and what things it can't hurt. We also need some sort of like health proxy component, which I think we already have, but this goes on the player and enemies and anything that can be damaged, and returns a reference to the health scriptable object data. Associated with that game object. Hey, just want to give a reminder for all those who are viewing, just one more minute until we go to do a viewer minigame, so make sure to stick around. So the on trigger 2D does something like check if the colliding object has a health proxy object. Check if the colliding object is on the things to damage mask hurt the other object by specified amount. Okay. Let's go to do a viewer minigame. I'm going to do a guess the number. So, how this one works is I'm going to roll a 20-sided die, so it's going to be number 1 through 20. You have to put your guess into chat right now. Whoever is the closest will get 500 points. So you get one guess. If you put in more than one, I'm going to take your first guess. Once everyone's put in their guess, then I'll go ahead and roll the die. I don't know what Dorito means. Is that a 3? Because a Dorito has 3 sides. Is it a 6 because Dorito has 6 letters in it? It's a 12. Let's see, who else was in the chat? We had Dalton Jones, 1297, and Rhino Dog. Either of you guys got guesses? It's a chip. I don't know what you mean. Another 5. Well, Drew Loves Pinky wins this one. Good job, Drew Loves Pinky. You guessed a number that was less than your opponent's. So here this article's talking about, well, they might have more than one technique here. So they've got the hitbox technique. Well, seems like they don't have any other alternative. So they say basically the idea here is to create a box collider around your melee weapon, and at the moment of impact between the weapon and the enemy, you activate this collider in order to hit the enemy. Create an empty game object as a child for your player. Add a box collider to it. Check the trigger box and add a rigid body kinematic so we can detect collisions. Create a C# script, let's call it hitbox attack, and add it to your hitbox game object. Deactivate the hitbox game object for now. Hold on, I will explain why in a moment. The way we will set it up is in the animation window. In the following example, the knight attacks with an axe, and we have an arc to show the attack. In the arc animation, press the record button. Pick the moment you want to activate the hitbox and adjust the collider size accordingly. Advance a few frames and adjust the collider size again. Finally, deactivate the hitbox. And this will make more testing. This will take more testing in order to perfect the correct position of the hitbox in order to make sure it actually hits enemies. Now for the script. We will take advantage of the interface we learned about in the previous article. Unity Interfaces 101. Hitbox attack mono behavior. It's got the attack power. The Boolean to confirm that we only hit the target once. We have on enable set can attack to true. On trigger enter 2D. We get a component on the opponent. It's called damageable. And then we damage it, giving the attack power. So I'm thinking another good thing to do here would be to keep track of enemies we have already hit. So I'm thinking I want to use a damageable component rather than the the thing I already have. Component which handles the calculations regarding damage type and armor of the thing being damaged. This is the component which can hurt the health component directly. Welcome back, Drew Loves Pinky. So we've already really started work on this one as well. What does the API of a weapon look like? So we've got things we've got so far. Damage characteristics. No, stop doing this. What is that called? Assets, characters, script, gameplay, character, health data. Yeah, this one. So we have some character damage data. Maybe defense, call it character defense data. Which is now a new thing that we need to characterize. So they can be vulnerable or resistant to certain kinds of damage. We have a damage threshold, which is something we mentioned earlier in the armor and defense area. And then maybe a bool that says like stunnable. And this was something I talked about over here. A well-timed attack may allow the player to stun an enemy. Well, that would be preventing them from attacking for a bit. So probably not here. Not in defense data. Okay, I think that's basically the API of things. I want all of the ignore everything here. So I turn off spell checking. Okay. So let me see if I can learn anything else from maybe this Stack Overflow page. Problem with colliders in Unity, Melee RPG. I'm making a game in Unity and have been having a lot of trouble with setting up a way of detecting melee collisions. Having researched every suggestion from other people asking about this, none seemed to work. Something that should be simple to implement has proven ridiculously hard. The main problem is that collisions simply do not register all of the time. I was using the on-trigger enter method for collision detection, but this consistently fails to detect all of the collisions, along with every other method I have attempted, including physical collisions using every combination of collision detection. I then changed this to the on-trigger stay method, and this detects either 100% or close to 100% of collisions, although I'm not happy with the workaround since I see no logical reason why on-trigger enter is not working. They talk for quite a while. This person says, I suggest the following. Make sure your colliders are not very small in size. Unity physics engine doesn't work well with tiny colliders. It's better to scale up everything if necessary. Play with it. Change the collision detection mode of rigid bodies to collision detection mode .continuous dynamic for fast-moving objects like your sword, and for other objects which need to collide with your enemy, set it to continuous. Try different combinations. If this doesn't work, it may affect performance. You can read about it here. To solve the problem with hitting multiple times, I would simply create a list of game objects that entered my sword trigger during the attack and before I damage the enemy. I would check if it's already on that list. If it's on the list, I don't take the damage. If not, take the damage and add it to the list. Clear the list every time you start the attack again or when the attack is over. So that's something I want to mention here. Or something like start attack. Which will clear the list of hit enemies enable the collider I don't know if anything else is necessary there. So start attack would be called when, or maybe this is more like on attack start. Or I guess this is a general script which we want to be able to use for lots of things. So I'm going to call this damaging collider. So I don't want it to be on attack start, but maybe something like disable collider and enable collider. Or maybe enable damaging and then disable damaging. thinking maybe we want to have an inheriting public bool damage once, and this tells us if we can damage one game object more than once before disabling damage. Okay, I think I have a pretty solid design of what this like weapon and damaging stuff looks like. I think this is pretty cool. Well, it's been 8 years. I hope you figured it out. Oh, just kidding. This is when he joined. Still, it's been 2 years. So this is basically what I'm thinking. I think that's probably enough design. I'm going to call those done. And then I'm going to track my time for this and then call that done as well. So let's see, I started, I think, I just did 2 days of weapon design. So yesterday and then today. Call that 2 days. Move that to done. And do a quick Unity search, just get started on this, see if I can find anything. Maybe start finding some articles to read. I won't read through them tonight, but Unity file system.
Hello guys, my name is Lucas and
Okay. I'll call this file system. So that's under Unity file system. Now I can add this to that. Add this one. And I'll add this one. This seems to be a pretty easy go-to way. So you can check and see if a file exists. You can read and write to it. You can delete it. It's only available when targeting Universal Windows Platform. It's an alternative for system.io.file. Which is what that other video seems to be on, so I won't go look for anything more on that. Okay. So, like I said, I won't be here Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, so I'm gonna uncheck those and take a look at our list here. So, you know, I think if I keep up this pace, I'll be pretty good. learned about animation events. Created an implementation plan for weapons. Designed interfaces for damaging objects and damageable objects. Picked a few sources to learn about Unity file system. Next time, read up on options for Unity file system. Note, I already have something kind of working for some things in terms of file system. So I have this scriptable object data, and that persists outside of when I start and stop the scene, which is cool, but I think I need to go a step further for reading out lots of information. I don't know. What is the file system epic blocking again? It's blocking a save system, time warp at the end of the day. And a map. Well, I'm not sure if I need an explicit file system for any of these yet. I think the design for the time warp and stuff is probably pretty pivotal here. Save system, I don't really know what I'm saving. Saving the player location. That gets saved in the kinematic data object. I don't know. Anyways, this might be a lot easier than I was, might be even easier than I was hoping. Okay. That's going to be all for tonight. Thank you for joining. I hope this was interesting. I hope to see you guys in the next one, and as always, have a nice night.